Landed property design secrets that seriously raise capital value, formerly kept secrets unless you were the client. 10 steps to ensure your property's capital value is raised. Interior design.
In this video, we're going to talk about the interior design of your house. Interior design is not interior decoration. Interior design is taking the underlying configuration, the spatial quality, connection, and experience of your functions within your house, overlaying it with a design of usage that makes it into a lifestyle piece. Interior decoration, on the other hand, is putting furniture, soft, hard furnishings into the space in order to create a theme. Designing interiors is both a science and an art. Why I say this is because it is quantifiable and it's qualifiable. Quantifiable in the sense of a science because the way you configure that space, the experience, the value and the quality that you get out of it is a science. But how you intend to craft the space by making it look the way it is, of a nice color, of a nice theme, and of nice materiality, finishes and textures, that is an art. So let's take a look further down on each of the specific areas and see how we can use the science and the art to tailor those spaces to suit your lifestyle while increasing the capital value of your home. So now let's break down each space into the underlying level, which is the science of the space, how it's crafted in terms of the spatial quality and experience, and then the overlying experience of the art, which is the interior design that is laid over that space. Now, the underlying layer has to be as well planned as possible so that the overlying interior decoration layer can embellish it further. Now, if your underlying spatial quality experience is not good, then it's very hard to fix that problem with interior design. So let's just look at the underlying layer, which is the science of the space. And let's start with the living room. Now, in the living room, try to find a space that allows you to orient it to the outside and to the front of the house, because that's where you want to address your guests coming in, as well as yourself. And make that space as wide as you possibly can and as high as you possibly can. And if you need to then allocate certain spaces by breaking up that space into smaller pockets of more intimate spaces, work within that larger area, but don't put in any walls in there. Okay? Now, first thing you look at is spatial quality. Secondly, you need to look at the views in and out of the living area. Thirdly, we're looking at the height of the living area. Fourthly, we're looking at the light that's coming in. We're looking at the ventilation that's flowing across it. Now, what do you do then with the enclosure of the living area? As far as possible, have the windows or the doors, the glazing, operable and openable. I would suggest that it be a sliding folding system whereby you can actually fold them and slide them so that your indoor and outdoor now becomes one. Now let's look at interior design, okay, in terms of the hard furnishings first. In a living room, you don't want to put too much built-in furniture. You want to have a few signature pieces of furniture, both built-in as well as loose. And you want to have signature lighting and perhaps maybe even a signature ceiling. Now, the ceilings should not be too elaborate. It could be cove lighting, like bulkhead lighting, indirect lighting, but let the ceiling be simple in order to then feel the space. Now, also have landscaping come into your living room with planting as well. Now, this will complement very well with the lighting and with the ventilation that's coming through. Now, in terms of air conditioning, you might decide that since you have a big house, you might want to integrate your air conditioning as something that is ducted into the house so that you won't see a fan coil unit directly. If you have a ducted system, then you have grills like in a hotel. Now, that kind of system will be expensive because then you will have to run a fan coil unit that's much larger located in a different place and then ducted with the cold air into your living area. But it's very common today that even in a luxurious living room, you can still have a cassette type unit that's giving you up to about 2 to 5 horsepower. It is a really big living room. So apart from that, let's look at the soft furnishings. Soft furnishings, you want to look at one of the roll bands type of sofas, which are really nice lounge chairs that are very wide, probably about 4 to 5 seater widths, and with a chaise lounge on the side. Look exactly where you want to place your TV and entertainment systems, as well as maybe a bar counter, because the way you put or allocate your furniture will be where your wall fixtures are going to be. All your power points, all your Wi-Fi points, and all these supporting installations will be determined by where your furniture is located. That's the reason why when you look into property sales brochures, they always draw the furniture in there, because then it determines where the lighting points will be, the power points will be, the Wi-Fi points will be, and so on and so forth. So there's quite a lot of consideration that's happening there, but at the end of the day, you want to have a living space that looks clean and uncluttered, where every supporting installation is either embedded in a wall or behind a built-up panel, which you will then perceive as a wall in front of you. So that way you don't see these wires and other supporting installations being exposed. And that's the most beautiful kind of living space you want. Clean, uncluttered. Now, let's talk a bit about texture and color. Today, texture is the language of luxury. And texture is more important than color, because with texture comes color. So don't focus on the flat color, focus on texture. So that's the reason why architects spend a lot of time looking at textures, including interior designers. They look at compatibility of different materials. Use wood when you want to have a warm feeling. Use stone when you want to have a cooler feeling. Steel is even cooler in the sense that it's cold. And stainless steel today is very, very fashionable. Brass was of the past, but a little bit of brass is also good. I would recommend not to use carpets in the tropic. Use either really nice, beautiful Travertino marble, or a nice white marble, or even granite. Don't go too complicated on the textures and colors for granite, because that is jarring. And if you drop something on the floor, you can't find it, especially if you drop a ring, small ring, a pin, a needle, you won't know how to find it, and somebody might just step on it. So keep the floor patterns and veins simple. And certainly on the wall, try to keep the wall, it could be simple, it could be like an off-form concrete look, it could be a basic stucco look, it could be a nice, maybe even a Travertino marble, but don't go with something with a heavy color or too many veins in there, because that becomes distracting. The walls should be more neutral, so that the other things like artifacts, portraits, pictures will stand out in your living room. Now, certainly where you have a blank wall, you want to be able to dress it. Okay, if you have your TV console and your flat screen TV on there, and then you have your nice audio equipment stacked up against it, that will be a beautiful wall. Now, how about the other walls? Do we put a lot of paintings, portraits on those walls, or do we keep it clean? I would suggest to keep it as clean as possible, because over time, you're bound to add a lot of these artifacts onto the walls as well. But if you would approach an interior designer, like we do interior design as well, we typically choose walls whereby we want to create a signature wall. And on that signature wall, we look at the hard furnishings, the soft furnishings, the texture of the wall, the lightings, the floor finishes, the wall finishes, the ceiling, everything coming together in order to create a signature wall where there's a function in front of it. It could be very intimate couches where people are spending time discussing something. Therefore, lighting creates a focal point in that corner or that location. That's something we look at. Now, for the rest of the living room, if it's a very big living room, then we need to look at each part of the living room separately. But if you're doing a house, let's say at a smaller scale, like a terrace or a semi-detached, or even a non-good class bungalow, then I would say keep the wall as clean as possible, because then you'll be able to feel a larger expanse of space. Because if you clutter the wall too much, you will feel restricted by the built-in furniture and you really feel the tightness of the space. So by not cluttering the walls, you actually expand the space. And therefore, living rooms are the entry when you first perceive the house. It has to be grand. And then from there, it continues from the outside, linking to the inside, and inside linking to the next space. Today, dining areas are seen as an extension of the living area. Because very naturally, when you're sitting down and watching TV or being entertained, talking to friends, relatives, or even yourself in the evening after a hard day at work, you want to be able to move from the living area to the dining area. And the dining area typically can be on the same level as the living area, or it could be a step up, or it could be integrated with a courtyard or a semi-outdoor space where there's landscaping coming in, giving a little bit of differentiation between the living and dining area. But once you get into the dining area, make sure that you have enough space for a table that can sit your whole family. And if you have a larger extended family, make sure that you can accommodate a larger table as well. And you can take advantage of the lighting here by having pendant lighting to come down. If you had glamorous lighting like a chandelier or a suspended lighting in the living area, here you have the chance of making a different kind of signature with the lighting that might be hanging down above the dining table. So the dining area is a simple area, and the walls should also be clean, but it's starting to be a bit more intimate than the living area, where you can have a bit more family portraiture. You might have a credenza there, you might have flowers, you might have even another flat screen TV, you might have a phone there, you might have other supporting facilities in the dining area that is customized for you. Now, the dining area is also very much linked to the kitchen today, because we are always short of space in Singapore and in most countries today where land is expensive. And if you're building a smaller house, you want to maximize the space between the dining and the kitchen so that it's seen as one contiguous space. When it's one contiguous space, you feel the larger expanse of space. That's why it's very often that for young couples especially, you have a beautiful dry kitchen that even has a bar counter, or even eating on the central kitchen counter where you are preparing your meals and eating on the counter as well. But certainly, when you start looking at integrating the space of the dining and kitchen, you actually get a much better layout than if you looked at them separately. So the dining space is really an extension of the living, and it's also a connection with the kitchen. And at the same time, it should have a connectivity to the outside, because from the dining, you can then spill out into the outdoor area, which I talked about, which is the outdoor dining patio, which can be covered, sheltered from the sun and the rain. But at the same time, it's open on the sides, open on the tree sides, so that you can appreciate the garden as well. So now let's take a look at the kitchen. So the kitchen is a really wonderful place, because that's where we make our food. And the kitchen in Singapore can be both a dry kitchen and a wet kitchen, where there could be traditional Asian cooking, and that's kind of more to the rear and facing the outside, where a lot of these fumes can be discharged. But the dry kitchen is one where you want to showcase your most beautiful kitchen appliances. In terms of the kitchen layout, you should divide between the wet areas and the dry areas, because there is regulations in some countries whereby you cannot put plug points where the wet areas are. Yeah, so the dry areas is where you can put your electrical plug points in order to separate it from the sink area. So there are actually three areas that you need to look at: the dry area, the wet area, and where your hobs and hoods are, and that's where the fire area is. Integrate as much as possible your plug points such that they are hidden from view, behind the appliances, and also integrate the appliances into the built-in cabinets of the kitchen as much as possible to get you that slick look. Also, I would recommend you to have good ironmongery installed in there. Heritage is one of the brands I personally recommend because they've got beautiful pull-out trays and trolleys and revolver baskets and things like that, which can really help you to tidy up your kitchen behind the cabinet door. Look at those things, and some of these cabinet doors are able to open up suspended, sideways, all kinds of configurations that allow you to make your kitchen very convenient. Also look at how and where you will be integrating your refrigerator into the kitchen cabinet. So it's the refrigerator, the hob, the hood, the microwave oven, and the dishwashers that needs the initial integration, and putting the whole cabinet around them. So the wet, dry areas and the fire areas are what you need to look at. Get a good architect or interior designer to come in and help you with this, right? Because the moment you've installed these, it's hard to change them. And have them full height as much as possible up to the ceiling. Have some downlighters that are close to where the cabinets are so that you get more light where you're working on the tables. And install some of these very clever power bands. Add plug points into these power bands to additionally give you plug points without having to knock into the walls and hide those conduits in the wall. Yeah. So you have a single supply line, and then you can put these additional plugs on this power zone or band, they call it, and you can then make it very, very flexible. I always have a backsplash where the kitchen is so that it doesn't dirty the wall, and then where possible downlights below the top cabinets, shooting down onto the lower cabinets so that it's well lighted up. For kitchen cabinets and the whole look and feel of kitchen, it's not to say that you can't go with a theme. You can go with a theme provided it is compatible with the rest of your house and not standalone, because it's very awkward if you have a kitchen that doesn't gel nicely with the dining area as well as the living room. So if you have a modern contemporary house, go with a modern contemporary look. And even within modern contemporary, there are so many styles within that. I personally like Italian type kitchen design, where you have very, very clean finish, and with all the kitchen appliances well integrated into the fixtures, into the built-in cabinets, and then with a lot of very good ironmongery and a lot of very good systems where you can store everything in there, from the dry ingredients to the wet ingredients, and then being able to have a very, very good kitchen workflow is what I look for when I am a buyer of a house. So similarly, think about what your new buyer would look for if you ever decide to sell your house in the future. The design of a bedroom can range between something very simple to something very sophisticated. If you've been to a very luxurious hotel with all the lighting and power switches and with all kinds of scene controls integrated in there, that it will be a luxury kind of bedroom. And if you're looking for that one, I'm going to explain to you in the next video how that should be achieved from day one and how should you plan for integration. But if you're starting with a simple bedroom, then I would say some of the key features are: where is your bedstead wall, and where is the wall that you're going to be watching TV in case you want that in your bedroom. Because if you look in all the brochures of property sales, you also find that the layout of the bedroom is particularly drawn in there to show you where you should put your furniture, because all the plug points, the Wi-Fi points, and so on will be located on the wall where the fixtures are. So it's important to know the orientation of where you're going to put your furniture before you even start to put all these integration together. Because the architect is going to look for the best facing of the bedroom and then determine which are the areas of the external wall that's going to have a window, whether into a balcony or just looking out. And then the other walls will more or less be opaque walls, which you can then put your bedstead and your TV. Because if you have too many windows, then there's no place that you can put your bedstead or your TV systems if everything is transparent. So it's actually important to have some opaque walls in the bedroom. Now, the distance between the bed and the TV is very important. You have to maximize the bedroom depth to at least 3.5 meters. And then the width can be anything you want. And integrated with the bedroom is normally the bathroom. So the way you integrate the bathroom's door and the door coming into the bedroom is important, because you want to have a very nice circulation within the bedroom. Now, if you have a very, very large bedroom, then it's not really an issue. Now, how do you dress up a really large bedroom? Again, it's like a living room. The bedroom can be used for many functions. It can be used for reading. Then you have probably a chaise lounge. Some people like to have a desk in the bedroom. And then the bed is in one side of the room. And the lighting should be dimmer in the bedroom where the bed is, and then brighter where a little bit of the work that you want to carry from the day into the night is located. Now, lighting designers that I know tell me that if you want to have a good sleep, it's important to bring your lighting level down to a lower level. Okay, probably to about 30 to 40 lux. Because if it's anything brighter, it's gonna the light's just gonna resonate in your optical nerve, and then you won't be relaxed. And in the night, you want to be relaxed prior to the time you fall asleep. So you need to have a more dim environment in the bedroom, and then a more bright environment in the living and dining areas where you need clarity. And those can go up to about between 200 to 300 lux. And you're talking about study rooms that can even go up to 300. But in the bedroom, it's best to keep it lower, like maybe typically about 100 to 150 lux. And then area where you're sleeping, maybe down to about 30 to 40 lux. So the bedroom has the bed, and it's got the other built-in furniture. Keep the built-in furniture integrated so that you don't see the built-in furniture. I would recommend that your cabinets, your wardrobes, be such that it's a walk-in wardrobe area rather than just exposed, protruding from the wall. As far as possible, integrate it in the wall or flush it such that it looks like the wall. And if you have a larger space, a walk-in wardrobe is fantastic, because that way you walk into the walk-in wardrobe to get your clothing, look in the mirror, and get some of your essentials before you go to the bathroom. And at the same time, you can also go through it before you come back into the bedroom. So the bedroom has to be plush as well, and the furniture should be whatever you desire it to be. I would always recommend go with a king size bed, whether you're single or you're married, but go with a king size bed because it has certain grandeur. And if you have a visitor coming over and you want to talk about your bedroom, or if you have a customer who wants to buy your house, a king size bed really looks much better than a queen size. And a super king is even better, but then you're limited to the bedsheet sizes, availability, and so on and so forth. And definitely you want to have very, very plush bed sheets, bed covers, divans, and so on. I won't go into the soft furnishings in here because that's another topic for an interior designer. Now, for the flooring, definitely you want to go for either a timber flooring, which is warm, or a marble flooring, if you want it a bit cool. Because these are very luxury types of finishes. For the walls, you could go with a stucco wall, or you can even go with a marble wall, which is very muted, or a textured finish. Textured finish doesn't mean that it's highly patterned, right? Which is very complicated in look and feel. I'm talking about a very simple textured finish that gives a certain class that looks like natural stone. That would be a very nice wall to have. Keep all your wiring embedded either in the walls or behind a built-up panel, so that built-up panel looks like the wall, and then have those outputs then feeding into your equipment like your TVs and other appliances you may have. And definitely when you have a full height window, you're talking about a full, very, very good set of curtains. And certainly even if your window doesn't spread across the whole width of the wall and there's still a bit of wall left, let your curtains go cover all the way from end to end wall to give it the expansive look, to give the impression that the windows are wider than what they seem. Now, Some people ask whether a bedroom should be tall in height. I would say not too tall and not too low as well. So some ceiling height of about 2.7 meters is about enough to give you that height of luxury, and at the same time it's not too high as to make the space cold. So you want also natural light to be able to come in when your curtains are drawn. You want to have enough height so that you can also have a chandelier type lamp, so that you can also have a pendant type lamp that might be able to mark certain functions within your bedroom. But certainly you can also use spotlights, you can also use indirect lighting. I prefer to use indirect lighting in the bedroom because of the idea of keeping the lux level low and making it comfortable within the bedroom so that it's conducive to sleep when you want to. Bathrooms are one of the most important components of a house and one of the first things that property valuers look at. Now, the planning of a bathroom is important because of the way we lay out the sanitary ware within it, and also the way we look into the bathroom from the bedroom. Because a lot of people don't like to see the WC right in front of the door when you open it. And on the other hand, they may not like the mirror facing them. I personally like the mirror facing me when I enter the bathroom with a vanity top. But if you don't like that, then you can put it on the side, put the bathtub in front of you or a shower tray, and then have the vanity top with the mirror on the left or the right, and then on the other side you have the wash closet, the WC. Now in terms of the WC, I prefer the ones that are hanging from the wall because then you can clean underneath them. At the same time, you might want to have the one that's standing on a pedestal, which is very clean and sleek on the floor. In fact, today most WCs are what you call water conservation types, and they typically use only about 3.5 liters of water. And that's because in Singapore it's very water scarce and we have to watch the amount of water that we're using. So anything that requires a water regulatory approval in Singapore has to go through certification. And you can be sure that by the time you install it, it's got 3 to 5 ticks, which are kind of like to tell the quality of the fixture and how much water it's using. It should be using very little water, but still give you a very good flushing effect. Now, when it comes to the vanity top and the basin, I like one of those bowls which are sticking up from the vanity top, or the half bowl system, whereby it's kind of like close to being flushed with the vanity top. That way you can approach the wash basin very easily, and at the same time you still have the countertop to put your things there. When it comes to the bathtub and the shower tray, I typically like a shower tray rather than a bathtub because I don't take baths in a tub. However, your spouse or somebody else would want to have a bathtub in there. Now, in a luxury villa, bungalow, or especially good class, if you have a large bathroom, be sure to put in both the bathtub as well as the shower tray so that the occupant can have a choice between the two of them. I also have a house that I've designed before where the client asked for a urinal for the male in there. So if you ever put a urinal in there, don't just have it hanging somewhere in the bathroom. Put it within a compartment, just like the way you would put a wash closet within the compartment. So if you have a large bathroom, put the wash closet, the urinal, in a separate compartment. And if you want to put in also bidet, you can do so. But today, people don't use bidets in Asia very much because a lot of these integrated washing can be incorporated into the WC. And there are many different brands out there that have got bidet integrated with the wash closet. And some of them can even offer warmed water before it sprays up. At the same time, I like to put the shower tray within a cabinet as well. So the way I like to lay out a bathroom in a bigger setup is I want to have all the functions in different compartments. That way they can be ventilated separately and the bathroom can be used by 2 people. So it's also common to have 2 basins on the same vanity top where 2 people can use it at the same time while having the shower tray, the WC and the urinal being separated into different compartments. So there's a common area where the basin and the vanity top is for circulation within a large bathroom, normally tied to a master bedroom, and then the other specific functions can be laid out in its own individual compartment. So in terms of lighting as well in a bathroom, you want to have very nice cove lighting, which is recessed and hidden, and especially lighting that's coming on the sides of a mirror, or today's new medium of lighting is actually coming through the mirror on the two sides. And I like to attach a mirror that has high magnification that you can pull towards your face for women to do makeup and for men to do shades and so on. Make sure that your countertop is clean and simple, and then you have cabinets below it to hide the bottle trap. Bottle trap is that cylindrical device that's creating a water trap before the wastewater is discharged out to the vertical waste stack. And then also to have very nice tall faucets, right? So you have faucets which have you call it a mixer, a good mixer which can then allow you to, with one action, to balance between the hot and the cold. You typically don't want to have two knobs to deal with this, so it's nice to have a mixer with a long shaft, and that's probably coming in on the side, and then you can wash your hands nicely. So it will be good for you to have the vanity top mirror integrated properly, together with also shelves on the side, so that you can put all your toiletries in there as well, and your perfumery and other accessories in the bathroom. So make sure that the bathroom is properly ventilated, especially when it's not having its own window. You must have mechanical ventilation in there. That will prevent any moss and also mildew from growing in the bathroom. And if the bathroom is such that you access it from a walk-in wardrobe, then you can easily integrate some of your storage together with the walk-in wardrobe, so that you don't put in too much storage into your bathroom. However, if you have a smaller bathroom and you're really short of space, that's where space planning comes in very, very importantly, right from the first day when you're starting to plan your bathroom. So bathrooms are such that you need to plan them properly from the beginning, because you have all these fixtures that need to be located on the floor, and then you also have the S traps and the P traps linking to them before they discharge into the vertical stack out into the sewage system. So bathrooms need to be planned very early in advance, because the fixtures have to be fixed, and they are all part of the wet works of the construction. So apart from that, you might also have electrical fixtures in there, like plug points. Keep it away from where the water, like where the faucet, where the mixers are, and the bathtub is, because there is a regulation in Singapore of 1 meter that you need to separate between the electrical plug outlet points and the water discharge points, right? This is only safe practice, and therefore, even if you're from another country, try to separate between the electrical output point and where you have the washing points. So that's the bathroom, and I would definitely recommend you to have very nice marble on the floor and on the walls if you can afford it. If not, then go for polished. If not, then go for homogeneous tiles which are non-slip on the floor and polished on the wall. As for the ceiling, keep it simple. Very often you want to have a flat ceiling. Very often you want to have a ceiling that is just flat and flushed. Not a tiled ceiling, not one of those modular type ceilings, but one which is just a moisture resistant gypsum ceiling, and then with openings in the ceilings for you to access into the water heater or into the plumbing systems in order to access it, to service it in case there's another bathroom upstairs. So bathrooms should have their own windows next to the external wall if possible, but if not, then as I mentioned, exhaust to discharge the moisture. The door from the bedroom linking into the bathroom should be oriented in the right location as seen from the bedroom. The location of the bathroom is something that you plan on the overall organization of spaces which your architect will look at. And it is something that has to have careful consideration because the way it's going to function with the bedroom, whether dedicated to the bedroom or a common bathroom, is important for the perception of value from the point of view of the customer, the buyer of the property. Now, I've talked a little bit about the roof attic spaces and also about the basement spaces, right? Now, the roof attic can be used for many functions apart from just storage, right? And it can also be used as a bedroom, a kind of family entertainment area, as well as a viewing deck. So if you have the opportunity to use the roof deck, not just only for an attic space, but if there's an external space outside of it, it'd be a great place to put your jacuzzi there. Now, if you're going to put a jacuzzi, I mentioned about having to incorporate these into the structural planning early so that you don't have a situation where puncture load of a jacuzzi is going to just ruin your budget, your time. So you need to find a good place where you can put a jacuzzi, enjoy the outdoors where you're exposed to the sun if you're looking for a sun-friendly kind of lifestyle. And then within the attic space on the roof, you can actually have a nice lounge area where you can put a bar up there, a lounging area where you can rest and relax, calm down, cool down, where it's air conditioned or naturally ventilated, and then go out there to the sun and do your sun tanning if you like. So it's also a nice place where you can also have an entertainment family room where you can bring your friends to come and entertain them, whether it's in the day or the night, and then you can get out there to where the open roof deck is, where the jacuzzi is, or where there's other lounge chairs where you can relax. Now, as for the basement spaces, again, I mentioned about controlling the size of the basement. Don't make it too big because it's going to cost you a lot of money. Yeah? It's going to cost you about 1.5 to 2 times the cost of a regular construction above ground. So again, for basement spaces, you can do a lot of different functions, but make sure you exhaust them well. Meaning to say that you have good exhaust out of the spaces so that there's no mildew in there. And if possible, move your wall that's abutting the basement away from the basement wall, and then create a garden gap so that the air can come down from the side and enter into the basement level, making the basement level more like a ground level rather than having the building abutting with a retaining wall against the ground. Make the ground come down with its own retaining wall and then lay out your basement floor by pulling your basement wall, or rather leaving the basement wall there and pulling the wall of your habitable spaces away from the basement wall. So what do you do with that space? You can create gardens, you can even create small little waterfalls and features that can really add value to your basement. And by doing so, it's easier for you to also ensure that if there's any leakage in the basement wall, it's disassociated from your building. Because if it's abutting with your building and if there's a leak, it's going to disrupt all the activities within your basement spaces if you need to repair that leak. Because it all depends on where the location of your property is. If there's a very high water table, meaning to say everywhere that you go, there's water in the ground, and the water level can be either very low or it can be very high. If you are next to the sea, it can be very high, and therefore you want to then move the basement facade away from the basement wall so that then there is a gap and then you can service the gap in case there's a leak. So these are some tips and tricks if you want to create a basement space, and then from there create a buffer zone around your building that will allow you to put in landscaping. And when you have landscaping, rockeries, water features, that's where the valuation of your property goes up as well. But make sure that you have very good pumping systems and filtration systems, because these things can create problems if they're not properly maintained as well. So I probably won't be going into detail about pumping systems within the house, but these things can happen. I like to talk about gardens now. Gardens are a wonderful place where you can really relax, take your time, stroll, but more importantly, it creates views when you're looking out of the house into a green space. Now, the garden can be seen like an outdoor space of the house, which is an extension of the house looking out. So what you put into the garden is important because you don't want it to be too cluttered. You want the garden to be clear, but at the same time, it gives you a lot of screening, probably from the neighbors, from noise, to provide you with privacy, and as well as a sense of security. So I would suggest that for gardens, keep it simple, get good carpet grass, get a good landscaper to do the job for you, and on the fringes of the garden, put a lot of nice screening trees. And I would say look into three kinds of trees, right? You have the screening kind of trees, which are plants and trees like bamboo, for example. They're good for screening. Then there are the shade trees, which are the larger trees that provide you with a shade cover, which I wouldn't recommend too much unless you have a really, really big garden. On the other hand, I would recommend you to have ornamental trees like the frangipani. Frangipani is found in a lot of hotel resorts because it is so sculptural. And just having a frangipani standing on its own creates a very interesting, modern, contemporary look. Do get yourself a good landscaper to work with you on that. Now, the other thing is the driveway. The driveway is your most important perception point when you are approaching your house, because the driveway gives a sense of surprise, and you want to be able to surprise your guest or the customer to be if you do resell your house in the future. And therefore, the width of the driveway I mentioned before and the length of the driveway is important. However, if you have a too deep a driveway, if it's a small plot of land like a semi-detached or a terrace, that will limit your actual house area, right? Because then you can't build too much. Now in Singapore, there's a control. If it's a terrace, semi-D or detached house, typically the setback from the road is 7.5 meters. So that 7.5 meters is only sufficient for you to drive in and then probably park 2 cars on it. Now, if you have a good class bungalow, it would be nice to have a 15 meters at least. That will really give you a lot of buffer from the main road. At the same time, you can have nice screening trees together with alignment of planting that can complement with the driveway. Use lots of pebbles as well so that the external rainwater drainage is seen as something natural rather than a concrete drain with a precast concrete cover or a steel grating. I think those are things of the past. Try to make the infrastructure like outdoor drainage as natural as possible, and they're going to complement the edge of your driveway. And then make sure that when you have a walkway from the driveway to the house, if it's not directly linked to the house, you want to have that in nicely textured concrete or in exposed aggregates. And don't forget about bollard lighting. Bollard lighting is low lighting on the pathway along the sides, and that gives you very nice indirect lighting that's lighting the path but not in your face. It creates a wonderful ambience. Don't forget about lighting up your garden and your driveway in the night, because it's often overlooked. External lighting is often overlooked, and it's so wonderful when the owner crafts these experiences for himself both day and night. And also don't forget about including in ambience music, even in the driveway, in the garden as well. I'm going to talk a little bit about that one in the next section, which is about integrating IT-based electrical appliances as well as other installations that are complementing the house and are usually found in the high technology area.